Why do you draw? How did you start drawing? Everyone has their own answers, but for me, I was 5 years old when I was flipping through the pages of my mom's dictionary because I was bored. I happened to come across this word, triceratops, and it had this cool picture of a cool creature under it. Kid me was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool, I want to draw that. And so I got a sheet of paper and a pencil, traced the picture, and I called it mine. Yep, that's my artist origin story. I was so proud of that drawing. I would bring it to school and just leave it on my desk because I wanted people to see it without me asking about it. Yeah, I already made it clear in the previous videos, I just was not a talker back then. Anyway, some kids who were my table mates or just occasionally talk to me would see it and say, oh my gosh, you're so good at drawing. And I would sit there looking so smug, sparkles radiating off of me because I felt like a cool kid for once. Yeah, but by some bizarre coincidence, we learned what plagiarism is at that time. And part of me is actually questioning if I'm remembering this right, because did they really teach 5-year-old kids what plagiarism is? I bet most of us couldn't even say the word properly. Anyway, I somehow learned what it was. They say that if you steal people's work, that's illegal and you're gonna go to jail for it. And I sat there wide-eyed, looking like I was caught red-handed. I just wanted to draw a cool dinosaur, not go to jail. Yeah, I stuffed that picture in my bag. And then when I went home that day, I cried and I threw my traced picture of that Triceratops away. That day, I decided that I would be a new person. No more plagiarizing, even though I did it only one time. No more breaking the law. I decided I was gonna be the type of artist who doesn't go to jail for their art. When I'm 6 years old, we had to start the morning by filling out a personal journal every day for class. The teacher said that we could either write or draw, and I hated writing back then, so I drew in that journal every single day. I ended up making a comic about aquatic animals trying to make the best circus performance ever. I can't for the life of me find that journal, but I remember really liking it. Drawing stories was really fun, but yeah, the moment we no longer had to do that, I stopped. Kid me was bedazzled by other things like video games. Anyway, fast forward to when I'm 7 and I decide I want to upgrade my number 2 pencil. Kid me is in the market for a new drawing utensil, and it just so happens that the school is having a book fair that week, and they sell pencils there. You can go during class for some reason as long as you get permission from the teacher. I, being as shy as I was back then, got really nervous about asking for permission. Asking for permission means people will pay attention to me, which means doom. At least that's what Kid Me thought, so I was completely overwhelmed by anxiety to go to this book fair on Monday and Tuesday. On Wednesday, I finally get the courage to ask the teacher to go to the book fair. Anyway, I go there, I get distracted by books. Then I go to the cash registrar where I see cool pencils that only cost $1. I was like, this is it. This is the one pencil I will use forever now to write and draw, even though it was literally just a number 2 pencil with a pretty picture wrapped around it. And guess what? I happen to have $1. Only $1. 4 quarters to be exact. Don't ask why I didn't bring money to a store with the intention of buying something. I was only 7 years old and the only thing I used money for was to give to the lunch lady, and I didn't even understand that process. Anyway, I grabbed the pencil and give $1 to the cashier. She says, the pencil costs $1 plus about 5 cents because of tax. And I remember just staring at her because like, what the frick is tax? I stare at the assistant behind the cashier, like I'm asking him, are you seeing this? And he just looks at me. I stare at both of them, trying to understand where this 5 cents is coming from. Like, if I had to pay 5 cents, they should have put that on the price tag instead of confusing everyone. Yeah, I don't think they were getting paid enough to explain what this mythical concept known as tax was to a 7-year-old. So they just waited while I dug around my bag for a coin I know I don't have. I tell them I only have $1. Can I not get this pencil? They just say it's fine. They grab 5 cents from the spare change container on the counter and tell me to come back tomorrow to pay my tax. After that, I ask someone what tax is, and they tell me it's something everyone pays to the government. Another mythical concept to me. And if you don't, you go to jail. What the frick? Again, I can't believe it's so easy to break the law. When I go back home, I grab 5 cents from my piggy bank and I put it in my bag. The next day, I have every intention of bringing that nickel to the book fair. But I have to ask the teacher for permission to go to the book fair again. And I already went once. If people noticed that I went twice, people were going to talk about me being suspicious. I remember just sitting there on the rainbow carpet, staring at the book fair pass and trying to get the courage to ask the teacher. I didn't. After school, I tried to go to the book fair, but the whole reason I never went to the book fair after school was because it was so full of people, and I didn't like that. I couldn't do that. The rest of the week ends, and the book fair closes, and I remember just going into the couch hoping to just get absorbed in it because that was it. I'm a criminal now. Again, why is it so easy to break the law? How long do I have until I get arrested? I would actually get so scared. My imagination would act up so bad because I thought the police were going to barge into my house any moment every time the doorbell rang, just to get me for not paying my tax. As a self imposed punishment, I stopped using the pencil. Actually, I lost it. So there would be no trace of evidence back to me. Anyway, my mom had a bunch of school supplies back at home, so I just took one of those pencils and went along with my day. I didn't really consistently draw unless it was for art class until 4th grade, when I came up with my greatest creation in elementary school: angel dogs. Basically, they're just doodles of puppies with wings, but the kids around me kept saying how good and cute they were, and so I, of course, thought I was amazing. My ego gets so inflated that I accidentally made a business out of it. So basically, I would design angel dogs for people, give them like customizable clothes and stuff, expressions, and then cut those pictures out and put double-sided tape on the back of them so they would act like a sticker. I would draw settings on several sheets of paper so you could move your customized angel dog around and chill on these settings. It's something like playing a super discount Club Penguin on paper in school. A friend suggests I should ask money from whoever wants to play this so called game. I consider it, but we get too loud in the hallway, and some teacher tells us to be quiet. Later, someone tells me that you can't start a business without a license, which is yet another mythical concept in my head, and that I would have to collect taxes from my customers. And I'm like, there's no way I can do that. I still don't even understand what tax is. How do you even do that? I'm only 9 years old. Once again, I'm foiled by the law. Yeah, I quietly and slowly shut down my so called business, and I forget about it later because I learn about YouTube, and there's this person teaching people how to draw animals. I do that instead, and again, my ego gets a little inflated when some classmate, a guy, asks, oh, he doesn't ask, he says, "Whoa, you're so good at drawing." And for once, no one tells me I'm on the edge of breaking the law. Fast forward to middle school. One of the assignments for English class was to draw a comic about some Greek mythology. That project ignites my calling for creativity, and I start working on my own comic again after so long. I called it the Marshmallow Comics, and it was literally about these 5 silly marshmallow things doing dumb stuff together. I got a lot of positive reinforcement from my friends. They laugh at how funny and ridiculous it is, and I keep making stuff until I'm 12. Summer vacation comes, and I get possessed by more insecurity than usual. I looked back at the comics and thought, wow, this is the stupidest thing I've ever done. I can't believe I wasted all this paper and it's wasting all this space on my table. That comic was at least 25 sheets of paper long, and I remember actually tearing it apart and throwing it in the trash. Looking back, I really wish I hadn't done that. I'd probably laugh at whatever I made, but appreciate the innocence of a kid's humor. Anyway, when summer vacation is over, my friends ask me what happened to it, and yeah, I just said I wasn't doing it anymore, and I could see the disappointment on their faces. I don't know why, but I literally just I couldn't believe in myself anymore. I stopped drawing and I focused on just writing stories because a friend said maybe I could become an author when I grow up instead because I like making crazy stories. I don't really believe her because my English sucked back then, and I had no intention of getting any better. Still, I wrote silly stories about my friends while thinking about what kinds of book I would write. When next summer vacation hits, I'm 13 years old and everything changes. That's when I get introduced to anime. Something clicks. And I get so obsessed. Everything I draw from then on was basically anime. I barely did any fan art though because I didn't have a reliable way to access the internet for reference. Plus, I usually drew in school, so I just drew my friends and my made up characters all the time. Eventually, someone says I should draw a manga and she'll help me publish it. At first, I'm reluctant because, like, what is even publish? I'm too young for that. And what does publish on the internet even mean? Am I gonna get arrested for this if I don't do this right? Anyway, since she's interested, I decided to draw a comic. I made two projects. One was 8 pages, the other was 9 pages. But since I was terrible at communicating, I kind of just waited. Every time we talked, I would just stare at her, hoping she would bring the idea up again instead of me asking her what she thought about what I drew so far. And then, yeah, that idea died. When I'm 14, I get a drawing tablet for Christmas, and I hate it. I had some experience with drawing tablets in middle school because I took a digital art class, and they let us use those tools. But the one I got was, it felt weird. The pencil would make an annoying sound when you draw on the tablet. This software doesn't make sense. Ew, this looks ugly. Yeah, I drew like only 10 things on the computer that year, all of which I'm gonna show on the screen right now, all my failures. I mean, it's decent, I guess, for a complete amateur, but I took issue with it compared to the stuff I drew on my sketchbook here. It was just too much of a difference to me. Anyway, I'm basically drawing off and on both in my sketchbook and on the dumb tablet until I take digital art classes when I'm 16 and 17 years old. We use Photoshop and yeah, I learned a lot. The drawing software I had finally started making sense. I also got one of those how to draw anime books finally, which I think the only thing I learned from it was how to shade. But yeah, I'm kind of just passively drawing digitally off and on because each piece I made just looked meh. But it turned out that I just wasn't trying hard enough because when 18-year-old me decided to draw something as a birthday gift for someone, I somehow was capable of making this. It's pretty impressive compared to literally every single thing I made before that. Of course, I'm stuck with the dumb personality of trying harder only when it's for other people. Why am I like this? Anyway, it doesn't look like I put in that much effort into anything else until next year when I discover what Reddit is and I decide to draw fan art for the first time for a little anime known as Black Clover. That phase only lasts like 6 months until I suddenly get obsessed with drawing fan art for another little video game series known as the Kiseki series. And that only lasts a couple of months before I come up with a goal of drawing fan art for every piece of media I consume. Yeah, that goal died fast only after doing it like 2 times. And then a family member's birthday comes around again, and then I draw this Genshin thing for him. Yeah, I definitely experimented with the art style on this one, and then decided never again. And then someone else says she wants something like that, and wants fan art too. So I draw this BTS thing for her, though that takes like 3 months because I was struggling with perfectionism as usual. The year after that, 2020 year, was a dry year. No fan art, no me trying and failing at character designs. Drawing still wasn't that fun anyway. I liked the end result, but the process was such a pain in the butt for reasons I couldn't figure out until a few years later. 2023 is when I finally have a chill class where I could draw during lecture without fearing for my grades. So around that time, I just decided I don't know what to draw. Let me take part in a contest on Instagram, and I take forever to draw, and I missed the deadline. And then I come up with this abomination. I'm like, wow, I really lost all my artistic ability, huh? But then, after so many years of doing digital art, I finally learned that changing the size of your canvas actually matters. And so after that, I remade the whole drawing into this, and then I joined a draw this in your style Instagram contest thing, and I draw this, and then decide, hey, why don't I try drawing my old characters? Bam! I remember trying so hard learning how to draw water for this one, and I'm happy with it. And then, yeah, after every few months, I would get hit with a burst of inspiration and lock the frick in. The reason I was so inconsistent, though, was because I would get so burnt out from each piece. I still wasn't a fan of the feel of the pen and tablet I was using. Plus, there was a part in my drawing process that I absolutely hated. I'm talking about line art. I hate it because it's like every single line has to be perfect. You have to keep drawing the line and undoing it until its shape, weight, and curve is perfect. And I hate that so much because it's like being a perfectionist. And when I feel like I need to be perfect, I just stop. Well, actually I did buy an online course around that time. I planned out my next 8 months during this art class and I only lasted 2 weeks. Whoops. But when it's 2024 and I have money now, why not finally get a fancy drawing tablet? I get an XP pen and oh my goodness, it feels great. I know it's not a lot, but the fact that I was able to experiment and draw 4 things in the span of 2 months is already a lot more than all these years since graduating high school. And then 2025 hits, and I draw as fast as I can for a visual novel I wanted to make. This is also when I realized that I hate doing line art, and I decided to completely ditch it. Ironically, AI made me appreciate all my quirks in drawing. AI strives for the best possible outcome, or dare I say, perfect outcome, based on the prompt and whatever it stole from the internet. I strive for the best possible outcome based on my fragmented experience and my laziness. We are not the same. I will gladly embrace my mistakes now. Thank you very much. This is me, this is mine, and I'm happy with it. Then I don't draw until June because I keep myself busy experimenting with writing or game development until I get hit with another burst of motivation. Within the span of a week, I redesigned quite a few of my old characters, and then I stop again for a few months because I get burnt out from life. It's hard to draw when the existential crisis makes you wonder what you should really be wasting your time on. And then fast forward to a few months, and now it's the present time, where I'm drawing again. For you too. At this point, I pretty much figured that the only way I draw consistently is if it's for work. Yeah, I think I only like drawing if it's for work. If it's not for work, then I have a love-hate relationship toward it. For passion? No. Writing is my passion. But after like 2 decades of inconsistently developing my artistic ability, I'll gladly let this skill be useful since I think it looks neat. Whew. Anyway, so this somehow turned into some kind of autobiography about my drawing life. Whoops. But yeah, that's my extremely long and inconsistent drawing journey. If you're serious about art, you can get way better way faster than I did. Heck, start practicing with fan art early instead of fumbling with ideas you can't even visualize in your head. If you're not serious about art, but you like doing it, then I just want to say you're doing alright. Just do whatever feels right for your hand and for your mind. Whichever you are, just don't throw away your art no matter how trashy it is. I'm sure future you will appreciate the person you once were and how much you've grown since then. Or just do whatever. I'm clearly not qualified to dish out advice about art. The lesson of this story anyway is just don't be like me, okay? Okay. If you managed to stay on this video this long, then I just want to say thank you for watching and take care. Also, I am once again asking for someone to tell me if I need a new